On this episode of the SJ Child Show, I speak to Erin and Bruce Wilson. They're the founders of ifineedhelp.org. Ifineedhelp.org is a special website that provides safety products and emergency registry. If I Need Help provides special needs safety products and a system to help reunite you with your loved ones in the event that they wander or have issues communicating in a critical situation. They are a fantastic couple and really are helping the community in the most important way and helping to provide safety for our special needs community. Enjoy the show. Hi, welcome to the SJ Child Show. I'm your host, SJ Childs, and today I have really special guests, Erin and Bruce Wilson, and they are coming from my neighbors from the West, from in California. Lucky guys, they probably have good weather. Our weather's okay right now, but it's not fantastic. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here today. The conversation is going to be amazing and really amazing service that you guys have come up with. Let's start with an introduction. Please introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and why you're here today.
Yes. So we're Bruce and Erin Wilson. We're parents. Our son, Jay, he's 20 now. He has moderate autism. And when he was younger in elementary school, he got lost, and he also got lost at a summer camp. So we wanted to come up with a way to let people know he's someone with special needs and then also provide his identification information. So we make wearable IDs for people with communication issues. Amazing. And we use QR codes that link to the person's profile that's caregiver controlled.
Oh, that is so needed. What a fantastic idea. We had a kind of a similar, not really situation along the same lines, though. At one of our community members, the daughter got out of the vehicle at a stop sign, went to a stranger and was hugging the stranger, but the stranger didn't know anything about autism. And so she thought it was a child kidnapping. So she called the cops. She wouldn't return the child to her mother. And it was this big, huge thing. And so a little bit along the same lines, I thought, how can we change this? Like, what can we do to fix anything like this? And so I created, and I'll show you later, these little kits that have stickers that alert emergency responders that a profile is in the vehicle with all the needs of the child, but the QR code was something I didn't know how to add to it. So that's something that we need to collaborate on, because that was like my only missing piece of the story was how do I get a QR code on there?
Yeah, we can help you with that. You could even, our memberships are free.
Oh, great.
So you can even use ours.
That's fantastic. That would be great, huh? We could collaborate that way. That would be so great.
And the thing that our stuff would have helped in that situation, I mean, I don't know the real situation, but just from what you briefly said, is we have a very inexpensive product. I think it's like $3.50 or something like that. It's a caregiver lanyard. And it says caregiver, and then it has like an ID card on
in a plastic
thingamajig. That's a technical term, and it says caregiver, and it says, if something happens to me, I'm in charge. I'm responsible for, and then you can write in like 2 people with special needs or whatever, and then on the back you could say if they're not with me, they might be at the school or whatever. So when people see that, in that kind of situation, they would see, oh, he's a caregiver, and
Yes.
And this happened to me the other day when I had my son in the car, and I was at the Versatel right in front of it, and he was being really loud, and he was fine there. And I knew that, but he was moving around. So the car was kind of rocking, and he was just being really loud, and the windows were down, so he wasn't like suffocating or anything. And I was right there. But a lady saw me walking towards the car and said, "Are you with him?" So she was, getting ready to call the police or something like that. And I was there with my caregiver lanyard on and looking official. And she was like, "Okay, great." And,
Perfect.
A little information like that can proactively can really make huge differences.
Yeah. And bless her heart, right? Both ways. Like, thank you for paying attention and being ready just in case that wasn't somebody that was with that child. But at the same time, it's hard because you're like, mind your own business, right? It's both ways. It's like this fine line that we want people to walk to care for our children, yet mind their own business when we're having our own family moments and not like judge us for that or whatever. So yeah, I think it's so important. And the lanyard's a really wonderful idea.
Yeah. And we also have t-shirts and we have a whole line of caregiver products.
Yeah. And it says caregiver, I got this.
Oh yeah, I like that.
And it's got a big, big hands holding or, some logo that we made for that. Our friend Ian made for us.
Those are terrifying moments that when your child has eloped. We also have a child that, our son has eloped from schools, and strangers have found him on busy roads and brought him back. And of course, we don't give the school a second chance to lose him. So he's back home. And that's hard because you want to give them as many opportunities as they can. But when their safety is involved, sometimes there's just nothing you can do about that. Right. Except now you guys have made that a little bit more possible to feel free to let them have some independence and know that they could be found or secured if anything were to happen.
Yeah. And out here, the benefits state by state are just so different.
So true.
And the schools are so different. And when our son did that, we demanded what did they call him? A SKIA aid?
Yeah. A one-on-one aid for his safety.
Yeah. And so he's had, since then, since second grade or whatever, he's had a person there responsible for that. And then we changed it so that they could help with the schoolwork too. So it was an educational.
I love
SKIA.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. California has pretty good,
like progressive stuff. I really hear great things, and yeah, people can love or hate California all they want, but I really like most of the autism schools or communities, or things that I hear stories are really good and they have good experiences. And the schools are really, really aware of what they need to provide. You'd think that the same would be possible in Utah with their quote unquote, family vision views, but that's not the truth. It's not the truth. There's so many schools that don't provide great accommodations. They don't understand that the accommodations are really necessary, instead of just, requested or whatever for, So when we were my son is 2E. And so twice exceptional kids are a little bit harder to academically follow. And so, but he was reading at 1 and writing at 2. And when he was doing algebra in first grade, they told us we can't teach him. Like, he is doing stuff outside of his grade level and we're not able to accommodate him, which I thought was crazy since it's a school full of teachers that have their teaching degrees from colleges and they can't teach on a college level. But yeah, what are you going to do? Right. You kind of just have to provide your own child.
Could you have sent him to like college classes as well?
I'm now finding out about that. I didn't even know that was possible to do. So now I'm kind of learning, and see, this is where I hate to see it. Utah's falling behind in their helping of families and children that need, accommodations and resources for themselves. So
California would be like, if you could prove it, that like, say if it was the other way around, say if you guys were in California, but Utah had the better services, The way that California works is if you could prove that he needs to be there, you could almost get like, money for commuting, plane back and forth.
Hey.
That's probably an exaggeration, but California, if you could prove stuff, and then, depending, like the LA Unified School District, needs more convincing than the school district we're in. So you might have to go to court with them, but ours, you might not. If you prove it, they're going to have to supply it. That's how our laws are.
Yeah, we actually have students in our school district that attend school in other states. The family lives here, and then in California, you're not allowed to have lockdown. And so in other states like Kansas and some others, they send them to the schools there.
Yeah, people that are severe.
Where they have to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a live-in facility.
I see. Oh, wow. That's amazing.
We just had a thing happen during this podcast that's a bit of growth, because our son, when he first was diagnosed, was severe for sure. And then he's become moderately severe. And Erin still says he's severe. And this time she called him moderate. That's a breakthrough right there.
Sometimes those things are so true, though. I, for the longest time, would say, my son DJ, it's like he's like a computer that's running. All the tabs are open, so he can't put his shoes on, right? Because he's computing all of the languages and all of the color codes and all of the things, but his shoes can't get put on. That's the simple thing. But my husband finally was like, he can put his shoes on now. You got to stop saying that. He called me out on it the other day. And I was like, you're right. He can put his shoes on now. That's something that I just keep using as an example, but it's not true anymore. Like we're there, right? He's 12. He's putting his own shoes on. Some people don't understand the celebration of that, but all of my listeners will. So that's the good.
Yes.
Yeah. And he, we're the same way for sure. It's like, oh, we're not going to take him on an airplane because when he was 7, it didn't work, and now he's 20 and he's totally a different person. He's on meds that help stabilize him and all those kind of things. So it might work out great.
Yeah. Well, my concerns are that he gets anxious when he has to wait somewhere, and he's very loud. He does a lot of stomping and shrieking, so it might be uncomfortable to be on a plane with that.
And my thing is, I'll put on my caregiver shirt and my caregiver lanyard and let him come.
Yeah. You guys have a good trip.
Good. You can come to Utah, right? Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah.
Utah would be good.
It's important that we show our kids, and like you said, I agree with Erin too, in that those moments. I think my husband has a harder time with those moments where he is afraid, well, how will I prove that this is my child if they're freaking out? I remember we were like camping in Idaho once, and he was having a meltdown at the Walmart. And so my husband took him out, and he was trying to crawl out of the window. And, a toddler screaming and crying and trying to get out of a car, of course, the same thing, right? People are going to be like, is this right? Is this wrong? And he was so afraid. My husband was so afraid for the cops to be called or for something to happen, and just say, how would I even prove that he's my child? For me, they have the same heredity. We have what's called outer ear microtia. We have these little teeny tiny ears, and both my son and my daughter have them. So I can prove right away that they're mine.
You didn't tell us you had ears like that when we agreed to do the podcast.
I know, right? Full disclosure wasn't made. No, I think that's funny. Well, and it's funny too, because of the other thing I was telling you about that I did earlier in the week. Because I've had these little ears my whole life, it's kind of what has made me feel like I'm outside of things, that I've never fit in, that I was very different, that I had these differences than others, because it was a physical difference. So I never thought of it could be a neurological difference in any way. So I'll catch you guys up on when I find out those interesting test results. But it's so great that you guys have made the shirts and the lanyards, because had my husband have had his caregiver shirt on or his lanyard, then he wouldn't have felt so afraid to have DJ freak out in that moment, right?
It would, even when we see like people from the special needs class nearby, going to Starbucks or something, you basically can't, we could tell who's in charge because of age, but other people that don't know our world, can't really see who's in charge, or might see, well, this is kind of an interesting group, but might not know what's happening. So information like that is very critical. And our son, he's loud as heck. So it sounds like, Robert De Niro up in his room from Taxi Driver or whatever. Just, it sounds like a karate guy because he's very verbal, but you can't really understand what he's saying. It's very guttural in a lot of cases, and it sounds like a karate guy in his room just yelling. And people walk their dogs in front of the house, and so I'm waiting for the police to come, and we make alerts, and we have signs, we have street signs, we have all kinds of things in there, and they can be custom. So we put a custom alert on our door at like police officer level, explaining what's going on, that we have a son that's autism's loud, please be kind, so anything that you can do to give a first responder or a community member a heads up that this is the way this person is, could be life-saving.
Absolutely. That reminds me, when my son was a little bit younger, I made a whole bunch of, because our community is mostly Spanish speaking and English speaking. And so I made up a bunch of little Spanish cards that said, this is my son, DJ. He has autism. If he's ever out of the house and you see him, please bring him back. Because I wanted to go give them to all of the neighbors, but for those folks that I couldn't communicate with, I still wanted them to have a piece of kind of how to understand. So I love that you guys did that as well. One of our favorite quotes that ties along with this so well is, a little bit of knowledge turns fear into understanding. And that's what they need. They need that little bit of knowledge of how to help. And I use that for children mostly, like with my children's books. Like, once you give children a little bit of knowledge about a situation, about their peers, they're much more understanding. They're much less likely to react out of fear of not understanding them and confusion.
So you want to tell her about some of our products? And
Sure. And we also, you had me remember our neighbor alert. So if I need help, it's a free membership, and they can create their profile that the QR code links to. And we also have the emergency Q&A, where it's all the questions that a police officer would ask during critical missing or an emergency. You can answer questions about what kind of accommodations they need, how they communicate, what their medical needs are, their personal information. And that's not seen when the code is scanned. It's just a separate section of your membership, and you can answer those questions as much as you want, and then print it out and keep it in your purse, car, or house, or email it to them in the emergency. And then there's also the Hello Neighbor alert. It looks somewhat like the profile. It auto populates with some information, and you can add the picture in the contacts and then give that to your neighbors. Like we had a new neighbor move in next door that my son's window looks out to. And so I took my Hello Neighbor alert over to him, and he read it. And I had Jay with me, and he shook Jay's hand. So it's so good to meet you. Aww. And then, all those days after that, as Bruce was saying, you can hear Jay out the window, and so he knows all about us now, what's going on. He didn't have to worry and all that. But the idea is that to give it to like the dog walkers, the store in the corner, the eyes of the community. So if they're ever lost or in danger, they can then contact the family. And often, we've talked to thousands of families that have had these experiences. And sometimes they're in the bathroom or washing their hair or cooking, and they just don't even know that their loved one is missing yet. So that can bring, that could be another angle. We try to approach this from every angle we can. And so that's another way. Yeah. And then you can also print out your own code that when you're in your My Account section of the website. You can print out your own code that the profile links to and use it however you wish.
Oh, fantastic. Those are such important services. I'm so glad that we connected because this is my passion, to help families feel safe, to help the individuals feel safe, more than anything. And especially the ones who don't know how to feel safe, right? Those are the ones we need protection, or the elopers that don't realize. And I was just, I work with a local autism real estate sensory design specialist. Got the mouthful, right?
Yeah.
She's incredible. And she sets up these sensory rooms for kids. But not only that, she's doing something that I just want to be a part of. I'm just trying to piggyback with her all the way here. Bless her heart. But she's working with the home builders associations. And she's saying, stop making all of these communities look exactly the same. How are our elopers ever going to find their way back? What chance are they ever going to have if they get out? And you're in the cookie cutter, section of the condos that every single one are the same exact color, the same exact size. Everything's the same. So we were trying to think of maybe my husband, who does construction, said, well, what about colored curbs? What if we could talk to the city about making the curbs a certain color that they could just paint, a stripe or in the gutter or something that would just be accessible to be seen, but wouldn't have to necessarily be on, something the home builders would have to do necessarily. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? About having communities look the same all the time?
What about a flag?
Yeah.
Something like that. That would be an easier one.
That's a really good idea too.
And bumper stickers that we put on the houses.
And some HOAs are just, they won't let people have flags or things like that. That's something probably that needs to be addressed straight to those kinds of associations.
Well, I think you could that would, anything like that would help. But I think with the flag thing though, I'm sure it's okay to put Ohio State football.
Yeah, right.
So if your kid knew that, he always sees the Ohio State flag, that would be a cue to them.
That's a good point.
Because that's really who it needs to be for.
Absolutely.
But if he's walking down a street and every street looks the same,
that's true too.
That's a challenge, right?
Yeah. And I was thinking, well, what if you just did their gutter in whatever color, just that one house had the certain color on the strip of the curb or something. But yeah, I think that any identifying thing is really the important part. Just like you guys are, the identification is the missing piece, basically.
Well, it's a missing piece for sure. Unfortunately, our world is not cut and dried, so there's no one answer for anybody.
So true.
Even we're wearable ID, and we refer people for trackers if that's what they're looking for, but that's not what we do. But it's kind of like the two wings of the bird. Trackers are incredible, but your bill has to be paid. You have to purchase the unit. You have to make sure it's charged. You have to make sure it's on the person every single day. Because the one day you don't put it on is when something's going to be happening. And ours, people have to be seen by someone. So if they're about to jump in a river or something and nobody's around, ours wouldn't help them there. So there's just no one answer. It's got to be layers of protection.
Oh yeah, you got to throw in the whole toolbox. Yeah,
exactly. And that's why it's so great to have teams of people, teams of helpers. Your community, your therapists, whatever the teams. The school, the counselors, and probably for you guys, I don't know if you're doing vocational training now with him or anything, employment related. That's something, you just always have to be involved with all of the people. And that's really the best way to get, your child or adult child, the best, surrounding services, I guess.
Yeah, you figure that out.
Isn't that the truth, right? Oh, man.
It takes a lot of advocating.
It does.
Yeah.
It's It's kind of like a lifestyle rather than a choice anymore, right? Wake up, start advocating.
in California, for people with developmental disabilities, there's the regional center provides benefits throughout the state, and they call it a benefit for life. So theoretically, they're going to be able to do group homes and, housing and apartments and job training and all that. And, for the person's entire life after their parents are gone and stuff like that. Yeah. And there are some people in the state that have people that with developmental disabilities that don't know about it.
Yeah.
And we'll go to events and, we'll be like, wow, you have to be in the regional center yesterday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that it's so important to get as much information out there for parents and for families, because especially families just coming into an autism diagnosis, they're so lost and they feel isolated and they don't know how to reach out or what to look for. And so those early days are so imperative to find a community. And once you do, though, it's almost like a special club that now you're a part of, that everybody is on the same level. I found more love and support in the autism community than from my own family members, really, wow. To be honest. And it's just the way it happens sometimes, there's unfortunately, I hate to say, older generations have a harder time with uncovering labels or the stigma that still is with those types of, things. And they have a hard time recognizing that today we do it for the needs of the individual, not for what it looks like to your family name or something to that effect. Right. Because I think in the past, that's a lot of, it's just so hard to change, generations change and things change. And now we have our fingers on all of these other hot topics that in the past we're like, oh my gosh, don't look at those things, turn away. That's hideous. But yeah. And now we can say, oh, yes, we need to talk about adolescent substance abuse. Yes, we need to talk about, suicide. We need to talk about mental health. We need to talk about how we need to accommodate all of our community members, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all come together because we're humans. So it's, different until we're not. Exactly. Yeah.
What, you got anything else, honey?
I don't think so. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a great way to roll it down.
Yay. Well, good. Thank you. Yeah, I really just am a big advocate in helping people. And like you guys can understand, with having multiple kids and a husband on the spectrum, I have this vision of what it looks like for me and the beauty that I see and the celebrating that I want to do and help the community understand. I'm not saying that it's all parties and celebrations and we don't have meltdowns and crazy messes, but we're happy, successful. We're worried about how we can strategize our kids to have a safer life. And this is something the thing you guys are providing that is just an absolute needed service in the community. So thank you so, so much from me and the autism community and all of the other special needs communities that I'm sure just like, yes, these things are so necessary for helping us be better.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, and thanks for having us on your show.
And let us know where we can find you. Give us your website, all the good places.
So our website's ifineedhelp.org, and our phone number is 661-524-6732.
Great.
And my email is Erin at ifineedhelp.org.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'd love to hear from you.
Bring it on.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. And Bruce is a funny guy. Be prepared, people. Oh, you guys,
that's true.
Such an honor.
But looks aren't everything.
It's just too funny. You guys have been great. I am so glad that we connected, and I would love to stay in touch so that we can, stay collaborating and just really keep making a difference for this wonderful community. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Have an awesome day.
We'll be in touch.
Thanks for joining the SJ Child Show. The SJ Child Show brings value to families through education and resources. But the SJ Child Show isn't just about me. It's about us as a community. Join me as we help educate and support our community, help bring kindness and love and inclusion to all. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and watch. I really appreciate all the support from all of the viewers and listeners, and I just want to let you know I want you to join me on this journey. Come and follow my social media, and let's do this together. Enjoy the show. Introducing Autism Vehicle Home Safety Kits, Emergency Responder, alert stickers, personal profiles with autism needs and a communication board, masks and earplugs, keeping families and emergency responders educated and safe. Get yours today at sjchilds.org. Helping autism families impact their child's developmental milestones through home relocation, community resources, and home designs. For every 3 homes Natalie Castro sells, she funds and designs a sensory room for a community center servicing individuals with autism. She volunteers to coach law enforcement, first responders, and ER nurses how to have a positive experience for individuals on the autism spectrum. The SJ Child Show, produced by SJ Childs LLC. Thanks to all my viewers and listeners for your continued love and support. And thank you to the guests of the SJ Child Show. It's been an honor to have you on the show. Thank you to everyone who continues to support me. Go to my social media and let's build this community together through kindness, compassion, and education for others.